Thank you for your time today. I look forward to answering your questions as you consider my nomination.
Gentlemen, thank you both for being here this morning. We welcome you. We welcome your families, your friends, your supporters. It's really quite touching to know that you've got a teacher that has been keeping an eye on you, Mr. Campos, and is here to make sure that that you continue to excel. So congratulations to you all. Mr. Garrish, let me start with you. And it's good to hear that the exposure that you had when you were working on the Alaska natural gas pipeline issues, you had an opportunity to not only be in our urban centers, but get out to some of remote and rural Alaska. I want to ask a question about our role as an Arctic nation, given that with Alaska coming into statehood some 50-plus years ago, we became an Arctic nation by virtue of our geography here. We are, as we all know, experiencing a new reality in the Arctic as we have an opportunity to access resources that were previously much more challenging. We have a new reality with increased marine traffic in the region, and all of this suggests that our future is going to be one that will require greater cooperation with our neighbors to the east and to the west, and really throughout the Arctic as a whole. So can you speak to what you believe the U.S. role is for the changes that we're seeing up in the Arctic, how we lead in this area, and also speaking to the issue of cooperation and the level of cooperation that DOE might have, whether through the Office of International Affairs, working with Russia and Canada, other Arctic nations on issues like research, understanding more of the, again, the synergies that we have up there, but also the challenges that we share.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question, Senator. That's, I think, a very important issue. For the Department of Energy, this is a developing issue, is how I would describe it. We currently have at the department something called the Arctic Working Group, which has had one meeting thus far. It hasn't developed since that. And the first meeting was mainly organizational. And it includes several elements of the department: our policy office, fossil energy, obviously, science, Indian energy, and several of the offices that would have anything to do with the Arctic. Now, that feeds into an organization that now has been created called the Arctic Executive Steering Committee, which is composed of the deputies around the government. And so we would then, in our working group, work with our deputy secretary, who would then work with this larger group to coordinate Arctic issues to the president. But I will have to say that this is simply only a beginning in what we need to do, and we haven't really begun to look at issues. So I would think it would be helpful, and I would commit to you that if confirmed, I would be happy to work with your office and try to define issues that need to be brought before the larger bodies. Now, there also is the Arctic Council, which is another international group which we participate in. Finland is now the chair. The U.S. was previously the chair, and they are focusing more on scientific research and less than on resource development. And that is another opportunity for the department to participate in Arctic issues. So between that organization and the parts that are in the Department of Energy, I see a really important thing that we could pursue in the future. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for that. Know that you will find me to be very pushy on the Arctic issues, because I feel that here in this country we have taken a kind of a back seat in an area where the eyes of the world are focused on the North. And if you don't think that that's the case, go talk to the Chinese, talk to those in Asia. India is looking to build an icebreaker. China already has more than we have in this country. It's not just about infrastructure. Again, it's these cooperative and collaborative arrangements. We have some legislation that we have been working on that will help to formalize the Arctic Steering Committee, the executive committee that you have mentioned. When it comes to the issues, we have worked to identify a whole slate of concerns. So again, we'd look forward to bringing them to you. I'm actually going to be meeting with a panel from PNWR, the Pacific Northwest Energy Resources Group, comprised of Canada, Alaska. But I'll be pointing out at that meeting this afternoon that given now the change up at the State Department, and a recognition that several of the positions that are important to us from an Arctic perspective have not yet been filled. There's a sense that within the administration there is not a high enough priority that's being placed on the Arctic, whether it is at the State Department, whether it is at Energy, or whether it is at Interior. And so you will find that this is one where I'm going to be probing people about. I mentioned it to Secretary Zinke day before yesterday when he presented DOI's budget, and said, I want to know where in the budget we're prioritizing Arctic issues. So know that I look forward to further engagement with you on this. Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Madam